IUIC versus the Black Church. Yep, what's going on, party people? The place to be. I go by the name of the BK Apologist, transmitting all the way live. New York is the city, Brooklyn is the borough. What's good? What's poppin'? Hope everybody's doing well today. It's Friday and work week. Hope everybody had a good week. And yeah, so if you have not yet already, please like, share, and subscribe. All right, tell a friend that's him again. We are down to 2 subs to reach 5,000. Right, I just need 2 more subs to get to 5K. So if you haven't yet, please do so. Please ask a friend, to support. It'd be greatly appreciated. And if you do appreciate what BK does, you can show your appreciation throwing some digital coinage my way via the PayPal link that's pinned on top of the chat. Or if you'd like to be a monthly supporter of BK, you can become a Patreon where you get an assortment of goodies to enhance your personal Bible study. Of course, we got to say what's up to the party people in the chat. Oh, man. True honor. Don't see him too often. Yes, we are live, sir. We are live. Good to see you. And of course, we got Tyler Lott. Both these brothers have been great supporters, quite some time now. We've definitely gotten old together, So I definitely appreciate you guys for showing up, Definitely appreciate that. So, as you know, we are knee deep within Black History Month. And, a lot of us who are within the UA, we've been showing a lot of, doing a lot of videos about just the greatness of Black culture within Christendom. A lot of us have been doing some great Substack work. Damon's been putting out some great thought pieces on his Facebook page, which causes a lot of conflict for some strange reason, which I don't understand. Shout out to Isaiah Robinson. He's been, putting in work, talking about the Black church. I mean, that's his lane. That's what he do. Of course, he could do far more. He's a very versatile individual, but he likes to zero in. And it's beautiful. I mean, we all get to be edified and educated on just the Black church experience. But what's interesting is it seems like IUIC kind of wants to get in the fun when it comes to Black history, which is strange to see somebody of their persuasion and ideology kind of want to cozy up to the Black church, to be quite honest with you. So, I've done a few of these videos, but I decided to do a compilation of a couple of reels they've done talking about Black history. And I find it strange that they do this. And you're going to see why in a minute. So let's make sure we are good here. All right. Oh, nope, we're not good. All right, just give me a minute, guys. Talk among yourselves. Just gotta do something real quick. All right, just give me a second. All right. Hope everybody's doing well. Okay, so There we go. Yep, IUIC versus the Black Church. So we're gonna look at a reel that they did about it's IUIC and Emancipation Park. So let's see what they have to say, shall we?
This land was purchased by African Americans who had just been freed from slavery, and this land is called Emancipation Park. In 1872, 3 slaves by the name of Jack Yates, Richard Allen, and Richard Brock, they put together $800 to be able to purchase this land. They didn't buy this land for profit though, because remember, in 1863, so-called blacks was quote-unquote emancipated. They bought this land to be able to celebrate their freedom permanently. But here's what they didn't tell you. During Jim Crow, this was the only park black families could ever walk into. While white people thrived within the luxurious parks, Emancipation Park was often underfunded, neglected, and a lot of the grass was overgrown. Because when you read Ezra chapter 4, verse 4, the nations always used to weaken our hands when it came to us building. Emancipation Park today is proof what our ancestors could do with just $800 and a vision. This isn't just a park.
So he says this land was purchased by African Americans who had just been freed from slavery. Does anyone see the irony of someone like IUIC talking about freed slaves? You know, they always talk about the curses, right? And we're in bondage. Well, these guys were free. And this land is called Emancipation Park. In 1872, 3 slaves by the name of Jack Yates, Richard Allen, and Richard Brock, they put together $800 to be able to purchase this land. They didn't buy this land for profit, though, because remember, in 1863, so-called blacks were quote-unquote emancipated. They brought this land to be able to celebrate their freedom permanently. So let me get this straight. So these Africans were enslaved, but were free, got free. So these were free slaves. Not only were they free, they had some purchasing power and brought land. And the reason they brought land was so they could celebrate their freedom permanently. Yeah. So yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, this is completely against your own ideology. It's so weird. But let's continue. Let's learn about Mr. Yates here. John Henry Yates, slave and minister, son of slaves Robert and Rachel Yates, was born in Gloucester County, Virginia on January 11th, 1828. When Rachel's mistress, Miss Fields, died, Rachel was given the task of caring for the Fields child, who eventually taught Jack how to read, although to do so was illegal. Jack took his reader, Bible, and songbook to the field with him and would steal out at night and read by the light of a pine knot. He made small amounts of money from fishing. When he was a young man, he attended the slaves' religious gatherings and was converted. He married Harriet Willis of a neighboring farm. They had 11 children. When Harriet's master moved to Matagorda County, Texas, about 1863, Yates, unable to bear the thought of being separated from his wife and children, begged to go along. Upon emancipation in June 1865, the Yates family went to Houston to look for work. Jack became a drayman by day and a Baptist preacher at night and on Sundays. He's a minister. Under his leadership, Antioch Missionary Baptist Church and Trinity Methodist Episcopal Church purchased Emancipation Park on Dowling Street for the black people of Houston in 1872. Yeah, that's the part Mr. IUIC didn't bring up. Like, yeah, these men brought it, but they were able to buy it. Why? Because of the church. They brought it for the church. Why? Well, he's a minister. So it was the church that helped buy the land. The church. Okay. And here's Jack Yates with a group in Emancipation Park. So here we see him and his peoples here. And again, I thought the Black church was this horrible, evil, toxic institution. But here we are, the Black church of freed slaves purchasing land to commemorate their freedom permanently. The church did that, not the Hebrew Israelites. Nobody, no one West camps around. Didn't exist. But then you want to turn around and be like, look what we did with $800 in the vision. No. Look what we did, not you, because you are in constant opposition to the church. So you don't get to, saddle up next to the church when the church does things you like. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. Several years before he helped found Emancipation Park, Yates became a pastor of the city's first Black Baptist church, Antioch Missionary. He helped people build their own homes and businesses and supported the development of churches and schools in Houston, throughout Texas, and the Western U.S. Yates' efforts to support the success of Black Americans in Houston and beyond continued until the end of his life. But this minister of the first Black Baptist church was able to build homes and businesses. And he did this until he died. Bostic notes the significance of Yates' actions. Quote, for someone that had been enslaved, coming out of slavery, being able to build their own institutions was critical. Yates was passionate about education. Among the schools he founded included the Houston Baptist Academy, and taught formerly enslaved people vocational trades, math, reading, and writing. The institution would eventually become Texas Southern University. So this university had its inception with Houston Baptist Academy, spearheaded by a Baptist minister by the name of Yates. But the Black church don't do anything. They were horrible. They were evil. But yet here they are, purchase land, schools, businesses, and teaching people trades. But yet now you want to celebrate this. You don't get to celebrate this. This is not part of you. You bang on this all the time. The nerve that you have in trying to co-opt what this church has done. It's just ridiculous. And then you guys decided to do a quick reel about Freedmen's Town. Let's see what you guys say here.
You've been walking past Black history your whole life and didn't even know it. In the heart of Houston sits a town built by the hand of free slaves, and most people never really heard about it. And it's called Freedmen's Town. Built in 1872, those who were enslaved bought this land not only to survive, but to also build a legacy. And these streets, paved by hand, brick by brick, our fingerprints are literally the foundation of this city. But the schools don't talk about it. Neither can you search it up at your neighborhood library. Whole blocks and towns of history erased. But when you read Deuteronomy 28 verse 30, the scripture says, thou shalt build an house, but thou shalt not dwell therein. Ain't nothing new. In Freedmen's Town, Black people, we built it, but now it's gentrified. You got white people living here. So next time you walk these streets, keep in mind.
He says, you've been walking past Black history your whole life and didn't even know it. In the heart of Houston sits a town built by the hand of who? Free slaves. Free slaves. But the curses, right? The curses. But these were free slaves. And most people never really heard about it. It's called Freedmen's Town, built in 1872. Those who were enslaved brought this land not only to survive, but also build a legacy. So once again, we have a group of free slaves who were able to purchase land to create a legacy. Okay. The marker at Dallas and Heiner Street commemorates the once bustling Freedmen's town, much of which has been destroyed despite its designation as a historic district. Origin of Freedmen's Town, located in Houston's 4th Ward, the original Freedmen's Town settlement was founded soon after the emancipation of enslaved blacks on June 19, 1865, at the end of the Civil War in Texas. Positioned west of downtown and directly south of Buffalo Bayou, the community gradually expanded to the south and west during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Freedmen's Town quickly became the economic and cultural center for Houston's African American population, growing throughout the 1880s and 1890s. Right? So, recently emancipated slaves purchased land. And with this land, Freedmen's Town became this bustling hub of productivity. Right? I guess they didn't know about Deuteronomy 28, I guess. Right? Portions of the district, which included farmland, remained sparsely settled for several decades. The neighborhood changed as residents built many small wood frame cottages, as well as a number of larger T-plan and L-plan houses. Commercial structures included several corner grocery stores and restaurants, as well as apartment buildings and boarding houses. Historic churches, such as, yes, Antioch Missionary Baptist, Good Hope Missionary Baptist, Shiloh Missionary Baptist, St. James United Methodist, and Bethel Baptist, played important roles in the community. Clergymen from the churches were among the most prominent early leaders in Freedmen's Town and included the Reverend Jack Yates, who we just talked about, N.P. Pullman, and Jeremiah Smith. Cultural institutions included a high school, hospital, and Carnegie Library. City growth and urban renewal later in the 20th century changed boundaries and the character of Freedmen's Town. So all these black churches spearheaded this. They weren't Hebrew Israelites, didn't believe in the curses were put upon them. These guys believed that they were freed not only from their slavery, but also free from their sin through Christ. They were free from the curse of the law. And look what they did. But you now want to come and be like, hey, look what we, no, there's no we. There's no we, fam. There's no we. Are you kidding me? There's no we. You don't get to come and be like, look what we did. You don't get to share in this at all. At all. And then you talked about Deuteronomy 28:30, right? Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. That was in the King James. But in the more Christian Standard Bible, the Lord will send against you curses, confusion, and rebuke, and everything you do until you're destroyed and quickly perish. Because of the wickedness of your actions and abandoning me, the Lord will make pestilence cling to you until he was exterminated you from the land you are entering to possess. What was the land they were trying to possess? Israel. They're referring to Israel. So talking about Freedmen's Town. Israel. That's the context. Okay. So they did an actual real on the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. Let's see what they got to say here.
The Antioch Missionary Baptist Church that was founded in 1866 was created by black slaves. This is the first black Baptist church right here in Houston, located in Freedmen's Town. Now, what was meant to be good was founded on a religion that was designed to enslave us by John Smith in 1608. Now, when you read Job chapter 14 and verse 4, it says, who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one. It became a vital center for spiritual strength education, and civil rights. Still stands today in downtown Houston, where slavery once ruled Houston's economy. Antioch Church was a cornerstone in Freedmen's Town, helping Black families transition into independence and community life. Now, I bet you didn't know that.
So, the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, that was founded in 1866, was created by Black slaves. Hey, they were freed, right? This church was by freed slaves. This is the first Black Baptist church right here in Houston, located in Freedmen's Town. Now, what was meant to be good was founded on a religion that was designed to enslave us by John Smith in 1608. Now, when you read Job chapter 14 and verse 4, it says, "Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one." So here he's talking about, man, look at this church that's done so much, but yet it was a religion that was designed to enslave us. So you can't make a unclean thing clean. So which one is it? Which one is it? Now, he mentions Mr. Smith. Well, in Encyclopedia Britannica, general scholarly entries on Smith summarize his life and theology, separatism, creedal baptism, Mennonite turn, but do not report any extant writings by Smith on slavery. Also, we have primary source collections, editions of Smith's works, the standard collections of his writings, and his 1611 confession contain no discussion of slavery or slaveholding as a social legal institution. Scholars use these texts to locate Smith's doctrinal statements. Recent scholarship on Smith's theology, modern articles that examine his theology, for example, 2021 article on Smith's doctrinal development, focused on baptism, church polity, and his move towards Mennonite positions, again, without finding statements on slavery. Baptist and slavery, later development, historians show that Baptists split over slavery in the 18th, 19th century. Northern Baptists tending toward anti-slavery, Southern Baptists defending slavery. The latter split is often why people look back to early figures like Smith for antecedents. But the historical record does not attribute a slavery position to Smith himself. So this claim that John Smith was the main, the capstone of slavery in that place, it's untenable. You can't prove that. There is no evidence of his position when it comes to this. So you're just making it up. And then Job 14, 1-4. It says here, anyone born of a woman is short of days and full of trouble. He blossoms like a flower, then withers. He flees like a shadow and does not last. Do you really take notice of one like this? Will you bring me into judgment against you? Who can produce something pure and what is impure? No one. Job is talking about anybody. Anybody born of a woman. So it wasn't to anybody, any people group specific. He's talking about humans. Period. Anyone born of a woman. And this is from Barnes' Notes on the Bible. Who could bring a clean thing out of an unclean? This is evidently a proverb or an adage, but its connection here is not very apparent. Probably, however, it is designed as a plea of mitigation for his conscious frailties and infirmities. He could not but admit that he had faults. But he asks, how could it be expected to be otherwise? He belonged to a race that was sinful and depraved. Connected with such a race, how could it be otherwise that he should be prone to evil? Why then did God follow him with so much severity and hold him with a grasp so close and unrelenting? Why did he treat him as if he ought to be expected to be perfectly pure, or as it were reasonable to suppose he would be otherwise than unholy? That's the point he's making. He's like, yo, I'm a sinner. You want me to do all these things, but I'm like, but me and you both know, God, that I'm out of pocket spiritually, right? But he's not only just referring to him. It's not about this is axiomatic of just humankind. We're all out of pocket. We're all we're all horrible. We're all unclean. It's not just one particular people. That's not what Job was talking about at all. So he continues. He says, it became a vital center for spiritual strength, education, and civil rights. Wait a minute. I thought it was an unclean thing. It was evil, the church, right? It still stands today in downtown Houston, where slavery once ruled Houston's economy. Antioch Church was a cornerstone in Freedmen's Town, helping Black families transition into independence and community life. So it's horrible, toxic, unclean thing. At the same time, it was this a vital center for spiritual strength. Make it make sense. Which one is it, buddy? Which one is it? And then IUIC, they do a show here about the town of Ocoee. Right? Let's see what they got to say here.
Did you know an entire Black community was almost entirely erased from history in one single night? This wasn't a natural disaster. This was Ocoee, Florida, 1920. It was a prosperous Black community with its own land and businesses. The spark? A successful farmer named Moses Norman dared to exercise his right to vote. On election day, white mobs formed. His defiance was a threat to a system of silence. The night of November 2nd became an inferno. Mobs swept in, burning homes and driving hundreds of Blacks out. The official count says only a few died, but eyewitnesses and historians suggest the true number of lives lost was hundreds. The astonishing part? Their homes, their land, their entire district stolen. The survivors fled, and for decades, this massacre was buried in the history books to cover up theft and terror. The silence was so complete that some living there today still don't know the ground beneath their feet was once a vibrant city, a truth hidden for 100 years. But the question is, what else has been intentionally erased from history that we still don't know about? Hit share if you think this story needs to be told.
Right? Horrible thing, an atrocity. But let's talk about this town. The churches in Ocoee anchored the community, with the two neighborhoods identified as Methodist and Baptist. Churches supported faith, encouraged hope, provided charity, gave song to dreams, and provided a forum for social justice. Black ministers were often the bridge between congregations and the white community. Okay, this is from Bending Toward Justice, Religious and Fraternal Organizations. Church structures became the first schools in Black communities. Before either the Julius Rosenwald Foundation or county or municipal governments built schoolhouses for Black children, Black Ocoee supported two churches, an African Methodist Episcopal, AME Church, and Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. Once again, it's the churches that are developing these institutions of schooling. The Black church. The African Methodist Episcopal Church and the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church were the twin pillars of the African American community in Ocoee, Florida before 1920. Spiritually, socially, educationally, and politically, their importance cannot be overstated. Below is a structured historical explanation. All right, so you got the AME Church. Ocoee AME Church was established in the 1890s, likely by migrants from nearby Winter Garden and Opapka, who brought them the AME denomination's strong tradition of self-help and education. Strong tradition of self-help and education. This is what this church brought. The AME Church was not just a house of worship, It was a community center hosting meetings, literacy lessons, and gatherings that nurtured self-reliance and unity. It formed the heart of what residents called the Methodist Quarters, a northern neighborhood of Ocoee that housed many of the area's landowners, educators, and community leaders. Right? So this was the AME Church, right? Then you got the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. Founded circa 1896, Friendship Missionary Baptist Church anchored the Baptist quarters south of downtown Ocoee. It was a simple wooden building that doubled as a school and meeting hall, reflecting how early Black congregations used churches as multi-purpose institutions in the absence of public facilities of African Americans. The church provided mutual aid and social organization, helping families survive in an era of racial segregation and limited economic opportunity. For Ocoee's Black residents, the church was more than a sanctuary. It was the seat of community life, education, and activism. To attack the church was to attack the entire community, which IUIC loves to do. And they don't understand that when they attack the church, that's what they're doing. They're also attacking the community. Because look what the church was doing. So you don't get to bang on the Black church and then turn around and be like, look what we did. Look how great there's no we. We're not speaking French, bro. You don't get to lay claim to any of this. And here's a quick map, right? You had the Methodist quarters, and you had the Baptist quarters. You had these bookends that work together, to help build this place. So, but it's wicked, right? The church is wicked. It's horrible. It's toxic. Okay. Both churches provided basic education through Sunday schools and informal instruction. Literacy and religious study were deeply intertwined in AME and Baptist traditions throughout the Reconstruction and Jim Crow eras. Local oral histories and archival material show that church members collectively raised funds for textbooks, school supplies, and teacher stipends. These churches filled the gap left by segregated schooling, empowering Ocoee's Black youth with literacy and civic values. The AME Church and Friendship Baptist Church became an organizing hub for voter registration. In the month leading to the November 2nd, 1920 election, a pivotal year when Black Floridians sought to assert their political rights under the 19th Amendment, which enfranchised women, and existing Reconstruction era laws, Julius July Perry, this is the guy they talked about in the cartoon, right? Who did what he did, and voted. Guess what Mr. Perry was? He was a deacon in the Ocoee AME Church. And Mose Norman, a farmer and member of the same congregation, spearheaded the efforts to register and mobilize Black voters. The churches hosted meetings, planning sessions, and education drives to teach community members how to vote correctly and avoid disqualification under poll tests. So the whole issue, the thing that got these white people upset, was this deacon from this Black church who's educated was going to go and cast his vote. It was a deacon of the church. The activism rooted in church life led to violent backlash. When Norman attempted to vote and was turned away, white mobs retaliated, burning both the AME Church and Friendship Missionary Baptist Church to the ground during the Ocoee massacre that night. The destruction of the two Black churches in Ocoee was no coincidence. They were the centers of the Black community's independence and self-determination. They knew that if they were going to destroy this movement, they had to attack what first? The church. Because it was the church that was the backbone of the social, spiritual, and economic infrastructure of this place. But you keep banging on this church. You want to bang and be like, tell people to come out to church, But then when Black History Month rolls around, hey, look what we did. You don't get to share in this. You don't get to share in this at all. At all. Right? Then there's IUIC and Jackson Ward. Let's see what they got to say here.
Just like Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Jackson Ward in Richmond, Virginia used to be the symbol of Black excellence, but has since been reduced to project housing and a festival commemorating how great it used to be. After emancipation, Jackson Ward was one of the first communities where freed Blacks owned real estate, built businesses such as the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank and the Hippodrome, and also created establishments and institutions like the Black Chamber of Commerce that served their own communities. But we lost all of it. Why? Because the Lord said that curse would be our basket and our store if we did not keep his commandments. So now, instead of owning our own real estate and our own businesses, we live in government project housing and we shop with our enemies. So how do we get back to how great Jackson Ward used to be and even greater? Well, the first thing we got to stop doing, we got to stop coming to festivals like this that make us break God's commandments even more by buying and selling on the Sabbath day and eating unclean food. If we want to be great, we got to keep God's commandments and the faith in Christ.
So Jackson Ward, he says, was one of the first communities where free Black-owned real estate built businesses such as the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank and the Hippodrome. Again, they're supposed to be cursed individuals, yes? They're buying and they're owning real estate, building businesses, right? Building banks and the Hippodrome. And, you know, I don't want to be petty, but he showed you the wrong Hippodrome. Okay, the one that he showed you in the video that's on my left, that's in Manhattan. That's now 1126 Avenue. The Hippodrome he's referring to is the one on the right. I'm just saying. All right, let's just get your. I mean, they're both called the Hippodrome, so I get it, you know. But let's be a little bit more, you know. Let's make sure that we get our facts straight here. Okay. Just like Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Jackson Ward in Richmond, Virginia used to be the symbol of Black excellence. How can you have Black excellence and be cursed? How? It was a symbol of Black excellence. It was like Black Wall Street, he says. Well, why was it so excellent? Well, some of the most famous buildings in Jackson Ward were the churches built during the 19th and early 20th centuries. Churches have always been the leaders of the Black community. Since Emancipation, and Jackson Ward had several churches that contributed to the Black power in the neighborhood. They were empowered because of these churches. The Black excellence came from these churches. The National Park Service reports that African American churches were central to the life of Jackson Ward. The oldest church in the district is the twin-towered Italianate style 3rd Street Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church dating from 1857 at 614 North 3rd Street. Second oldest building is Ebenezer Baptist Church, constructed in 1858 at 214 West Lee Street. Population growth and separation of African Americans from white congregations caused a dramatic increase in the number of Black congregations in Jackson Ward after the Civil War. These congregations built or acquired a number of churches in the neighborhood for their use. 3 congregations still occupy their buildings from the late 19th century. Sharon Baptist Church of 1884 at 18 East Lay Street, 6 Mount Zion Baptist Church, constructed in 1884 and expanded in 1925 at 14 West Duval Street, and Hood Temple AMZ Zion Church at 20 West Clay Street. 6 Mount Zion, which is renowned as the Church of the Reverend John Jasper, has a museum, the Jasper Room, dating from 1925. Churches play an important role not only in the spiritual life of their congregations, but also in political organization and mobilization. This was especially true in cities and towns. Their pastors became leaders in the community, while the churches themselves became influential centers of community life, sources of religious instruction and comfort, places to congregate, and in effect, community centers that could provide valuable assistance in times of need. 6 Mount Zion Baptist Church, led by John Jasper, who was nationally recognized for his famous sermon, "The Sundu Move," established one of the earliest homes for senior citizens in the Richmond area, and also employed a social worker to aid indigent residents. So again, look what the church was doing. Right, as community centers and provided assistance in times of need. The same church that you guys bash every day on YouTube and on Instagram and on Facebook, that for some reason all of a sudden today, now you want to say, "Hey, look at us, me too." No. A leader at Ebenezer Baptist Church, John Henry Adams, was a plasterer by trade, and as a city alderman representing Jackson Ward, won improvements in the neighborhood school, streets, and lighting. Emmett Carroll Burke, who worked as a teller at the True Reformers Bank and later cashier at St. Luke Penny Savings Bank during his long career, also served at Ebenezer Baptist Church treasurer for more than 40 years. So you see how it's all intertwined? The businesses, the real estate, the banking, the church, it was all working together. He says Jackson Ward in Richmond used to be the symbol of Black excellence, but has since been reduced to a project housing and a festival commemorating how great it used to be. It's still great, believe it or not. Jackson Ward is still great. Formerly enslaved preacher John Jasper founded Richmond's 6 Mount Zion Baptist Church in an abandoned Confederate horse stable 2 years after the Civil War's end. When Interstate 95 bisected historic Jackson Ward in the 1950s, the church and the path of the roadway survived. Today, not just back then, today, it's a local pinnacle of faith and service and remains an essential source of support and sustenance for thousands in the region. Pulling from its own resources and working with a host of community partners like Feed More, 6 Mount Zion Food Pantry, Ministry Sorts, Fills, and gives away bags of fresh, healthy groceries each Friday to anyone who needs it. This is still happening today. It's still happening today. It's still happening today. Now, I'm sure there's an IUIC in Jackson Ward. You better not be on that line getting that food, because that's wicked, right? The church is wicked. Anything that comes from the church got to be unclean. So there better be no purple and gold lining up to get food on Fridays. The church assistance exceeds meeting basic nutrition needs. It says here, they're lifting us spiritually. They're motivating us, says North Richmond resident Diane Johnson, who sometimes snags a bag of food from the church pantry to make ends meet. I tell them that they make me feel good about myself, because I know a lot of times when you go to an agency for assistance, they make you feel real low. 6 Mount Zion's volunteers have such a wonderful spirit that they make you feel wonderful about coming. They're guardian angels. They really are. This is what's happening now. Not back then. Not just back then. It's happening now. For more than 300 years, the Black church in America has provided a safe haven for Black Christians and the nation shadowed by the legacy of slavery in a society that remains defined by race and class. All right. So, but yet you want to, bang on it like crazy. In the mid 1950s, Interstate 95 was being constructed, and it came through downtown Richmond and specifically through the historic Jackson Ward neighborhood, an African American neighborhood, and the church home turf, says Ross. As about 1,000 homes were destroyed to make way for the highway, white city and state officials eyed the church and the planned path of the highway as an obstruction. 6 Mount Zion congregation heartily disagreed and pushed back against the intrusion. 3 alternatives were offered to the church. 1, tear down the church and let the highway come through. 2, move the church out the way so that the highway could come through. And then 3, leave the church alone and swing the highway around the church, Ross says. Members' advocacy to save their spiritual home, combined with the weighty legacy of John Jasper's pioneering work as a 19th century Black minister, persuaded officials to relent. Well, of course, that third alternative did prevail, and the church was not demolished, says Ross. The highway still snakes past the sanctuary, the traffic's roar audible from the church steps. Thousands of motorists pass the sanctuary each day, likely unaware that it fended off a major state-sanctioned threat to its existence. I jokingly call the church the Gibraltar of Jackson Ward, says Ross. All right. And here's the church. It's still here. It's still here. Still providing assistance and spiritual and physical needs to the community. So there's the church and there's the highway passing right by it. They couldn't move the church. They couldn't move it. They built a highway around it. But it's wicked though, right? It's wicked, right? Right? It's wicked. But yet, look, they're still here. It's still here. They're still providing services. They're still serving the community. What are you guys talking about? What are you guys talking about? Right. Who's we? It's not we. It's the hypocrisy is so rich, right? Every day. And I said this before, but just in New York alone, right? You have IUIC Brooklyn, IUIC Queens, IUIC Harlem, right? IUIC Buffalo. So you got all these different channels. Every day they put out content. And the majority of the content is church is bad, the church is bad, the church is wicked, get out the church. But they're doing all these videos talking about, oh, look how great we were. We are. No. These men and women of God are great, yes. But you don't get to come and co-opt this. You know, Damon Dash coined a phrase about certain people who come into hip-hop culture just to take, right? He coined the phrase culture vulture. You're not here to do anything. You're just here to take. Well, IUIC are culture vultures when it comes to the Black church. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I don't think they have a IUIC Bensonhurst. No, I doubt that very much. If you know Brooklyn, you know why that's funny. But so yeah, so you don't get to bang on the church, and then when the church does something great, oh, look what we did. We didn't do anything. The church did it. You don't get to co-op. You don't get to be a culture vulture. You got a lot of nerve to do that, fam. A lot of nerve. It takes a lot of nerve. to on one side of your mouth curse out the church, then the other side, oh, but look how good we are. No. Now, this could be part of your heritage if you decide to really become united in Christ. It could be that. You could have that. We'd be more than happy to welcome you. More than happy. If you truly pledge your fealty to Yeshua HaMashiach, your brothers and sisters. That's what we want. That's the end game. And you know what's funny? You know how great the church is. How do I know? You did a bunch of videos about the greatness of the church. Like you can't even hide the fact of the amazing history. So much so that now you want to co-opt it. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. So you're actually exposing yourself. You know how great the church is. And the reason why the church was great, because of the gospel that they subscribe to. A gospel that you do not subscribe to. The reason why we're here today is because of the work that these Black Christians did throughout the centuries on this land. The mere fact that you have the right to get on a platform and to critique and to mock and make fun of us, the only reason why you have the ability to do that is from the work of these Black churches. The irony. The irony. You know, so just wanted to share that with you guys today. I mean, yeah, Jim. They look desperate and foolish at the same time. They also look opportunistic too. Because they oh, you know, we're great. Well, yeah, they were great. They were great. Not you. Not you. But it could be you. It could be you if you truly make Jesus Lord. It could be you too. I'm just saying. You don't gotta, you don't have to play both sides of the fence. Just come over. Come over. Come over. And truly enjoy and be a part of this amazing legacy that's been here for centuries. You can be a part of it. Because low key, you want to, right? Because then why would you do these videos? Why would you do it? Because you want this. And rightfully so. Because when you're plugged into the gospel, look what happens. Look what you can do. Look what you can withstand. Look at your ability to persevere through everything we've been through. It's because of the gospel. Because men and women throughout this land, throughout the years, made a decision that they're going to deny themselves and be like Christ. And it was those decisions that have put you in your position to do what you're doing to us, believe it or not. So it's obvious you see the greatness. And the greatness comes from truly being united with Christ. You can have this too now. Just let go of the anger, let go of the eisegesis of the text, let go of everything. Humble yourself and come get this gospel. We're here. We are here. And with that, BK signing off. Peace.